Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present.
How old were you?
I was -3.
JR is trying to contain Jim Ross.
McFlurry,
It's Mick Foley. Do you see any of the aggro crag? Was any of that left over?
No, unfortunately not.
No?
I'm taking some of that home.
Definitely not is the barn burner that Leaf Cassidy and Tiger Rally Singh was, but we'll leave that there.
We digress.
God, I hope that storyline ends soon.
And 6 to 8 weeks later, they mail you a freaking magnet.
Yep. You may know him as the Red Rooster.
Is it still real to me? Damn it!
He kept making out with his wife. It was weird. So then, I'm waiting for them to put the Selena Vega on a pole match.
And I mean, Big E's got Whale performing in his entrance, so I feel like
Wale.
they would.
Wale.
I don't listen to. Okay, well, I don't listen to him, so I apologize to Wale.
This is in the mail, my good sir. No, it wasn't.
I feel like Vince is just gonna have them team together and be like, have them called Woo Bro. Like they're just gonna be the Woo Bros. Like, anyway.
Giving us a reason to come here and listen to ourselves talk.
Absolutely, and
then you can listen to us too.
Strap on and balls only on Wrestling Past and Present.
This is Gangrel, the Vampire Ward, and you're listening to Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present.
This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kirk.
I'm Roland Fulis.
And I'm Mongo, and this is a hat. I know last week you mentioned do-rag. It's a hat. It's not a do-rag. It's a hat. So I'm Mongo with the hat.
Maybe it's just your head so damn big. It looks like a do-rag. I can't. I can't see the brim. You're wearing it backwards, like you're 13 years old, trying to be a badass. Like,
look, as Kenny famously told me, I have a 33.5-pound head. Not many hats fit it. So this little stretch from friggin' lids or wherever I got this thing fits it. So damn it, I'm wearing it backwards because I wear it this way. What am I gonna do? Block the sun from my eyes inside? I'm like, no, I don't wear it sideways like Wale. So I'm gonna wear it backwards.
Hey, you got it right though. That's good.
I had to pronounce it right at least once.
Who the fuck is Wale? I thought it was Whale. What the hell?
We're not going there again.
Hey, you can listen to the intro if you want to relive that.
Yeah, they already have. That's the beauty of it. If they're at this point, they already have.
That's true. So today we're going back to TNA 05. This time it is No Surrender. We've been giving you one TNA pay-per-view a month. So continue on the lines of that. And looking forward to dissecting this one for you guys today.
Not only one a month, but one the same day of the year of 05. So like that, like we mentioned at the end of last episode, it's cool because like you still remember what's going on. You still remember that Lance Hoyt damn near killed Scott D'Amore, and that's why he's not there. And like you don't lose anything. So like I think, again, I haven't talked to either one of you guys off air, but I think this is something we might want to look into doing next year, whether it's with TNA again and go right to 06, or if we go to a further year, or what. Like I think this is actually really cool because it makes us like, we don't have to question like, well, I think this happened then, or like, no, we're like, hey, at the last pay-per-view this actually happened. So it's pretty cool to go in chronological order, I think.
Well, I agree with that. I think it's neat doing that. We kind of did it with AEW, that even trying too. Like, we've kind of hit it, almost on the anniversaries of them too, and kind of chronicled their 2019. So it's kind of fun to chronicle a year and all the pay-per-views and events in that, including like this. Like you said, we see that we got to see the debut of Samoa Joe, and now we get to see him wrestle tonight. And, we got to see some of the little comments that the commentators make. We remember the storyline because we talked about it last month. And if you're listening to this, if this is your first episode, you can go back to the archives and listen to them first to see what the hell we're talking about or the announcers are talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, prayers for Don West. Hopefully things go well. Again, we talked about this last TNA episode. He's got to be the hardest working bastard in a lot of different sports venues. Any different companies. I don't think there's anybody that works any harder than this guy. He's always hawking memorabilia or commentating on a match that they threw him on commentary and he had never done it before, not for wrestling anyways. So for him to kind of go in there cold and then be that big of a part of a company, it's really cool to see. So again, we found out before the last show that he's got brain cancer. So, prayers to him. Hopefully things go well, and we want to see him on the men, and we want to see him beat it. So
absolutely, he's definitely one of those, legends that not a lot of people got to see. And like you said, when I think of the term workhorse or jack of all trades, like everyone's had that one job where you felt like you're the one guy who does everything in your job. Like, oh great, I get to do this, I get to do that. He was like, but he never complained. Like me, I was a complainer. When I worked at Target and I had to be the cart pusher, work at Pizza Hut, work customer service, I complained the whole damn time. Don West never complained while he was selling t-shirts in the parking lot near the Aggro Crag and then coming inside to commentate a match.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. Yeah, prayers to him. Hopefully, prognosis is good. So let's get right into it. Actually, a fairly decent amount of matches on this card. 10 total. 1 on the dark match. 1 on the pre-show, I guess. The dark match was Shocker against Darrell Clark. Shocker gets the win in about 4 minutes. It's probably an okay match for what it was. Shocker has had some impressive moments on the shows that we've covered. He's been on the main card for some of those. I don't know if it's too much of a crowd getter. Like, I don't know if that was the best choice to send out to get the crowd going in only 4 minutes. But it was probably, I'll say it probably wasn't bad. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it was probably just something to get their appetite going for the show. And, you don't know how they program these. A lot of the shows that they format and set up, like especially the WWE shows now, like you can have a match on the pre-show and then still have 20 minutes of dead airspace in between, like where they talk about the stuff coming up. So like if this was done right and it was literally right before the show went live, then yeah, it probably helped get the crowd going for the opening of the show.
I don't know. And Roland's sad that he didn't get to see his fake Alberto Del Rio on this card.
That's a shock.
Titular line.
Yeah.
But who the hell's Jarrell Clark? Like, anyone know? Because I
think he was on the last episode we did.
He was.
TNA. Yeah.
He was.
I still don't know who he is though. Like, he's still not hyperlinked on
six,
Wikipedia.
He was in the match with Shocker, I think, wasn't he? Wasn't he in that 6-man X division thing or something? I don't know. The one that I think he was in the match that Daniels won.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of funny when you're if you're a pro wrestler and you're not even hyperlinked on Wikipedia. Like, that's kind of sad in the same time. So someone create him a Wikipedia page, I guess. I don't know, but I don't know. I think it looks, they don't give you a time, but it looks like based on the YouTube clip that I found of it, it says 4 minutes.
4 minutes 16 seconds.
What can you really do in 4 minutes? I mean, if you think of probably like 5 minutes for the entrances and then 4, so the crowd's probably still coming in there. And what are you going to really do in 4 minutes? I mean, you're going to get like 5 moves each in. Like, I feel like it probably was just like like you both said, kind of a wake you guys up, get the crowd kind of going, buy the t-shirt from Don West, sit down kind of thing.
That was the time for Don West to get from the Aggro Crag to his seat.
That
was.
Yeah. We should mention, though, we mentioned the pre-show. I think they did go mention it later on in the card. The big thing was Jeff Jarrett coming out with TNA, and they're teasing that Rhino, is he in the building? And throughout the show, Jeff Jarrett keeps going to different wrestlers, wanting him to, look out for Rhino. And then, we'll get to that later on. But we should mention that was probably the big thing of the pre-show to get the crowd excited. But we kick off the main card with the tag team match. You have America's Most Wanted, which is Chris Harris and James Storm. They're getting a win over Alex Shelley and Matt Bentley in about just under 12 minutes. I thought this was a solid opener to the main card. AMW, probably one of the best tag teams that TNA ever had. I know James Storm has a little bit of a bad rap from some, wrestling insiders. But they were, on top of the tag team world in TNA. I thought it was a solid match. And a good way to get the crowd going for the main card. I enjoyed this one.
So before we get into this, I did look it up. Slammiversary, it was Shark Boy, Amazing Red, Delirious, Elix Skipper, Darrell Clark, and Zach Gowen in a 6-person X Division match. So yes, he was on the show. Anyways, Shark Boy won that. So anyhow, going into this card, this match, I don't think you can start the show any better. I think that AMW was so over. I think that it's the smart move. You don't want to put the quote unquote big names on, and I think AMW was a big enough name, and they were over enough where you could put them on first, and it didn't hurt anything because you still kept the Jarretts of the world, the AJs of the world. It still kept them for later on. The Daniels, the Samoa Joes, it kept them for later on in the show. So I think it was a good way to open.
No, I agree. It was definitely a good match. Little annoyed with the ref. I don't know if you guys noticed this match. I feel like that ref was just blind the whole match. I mean, there's one point where they were outside the ring for like half an hour, not literally, and the ref's not counting the count out. And then Tracy low blows Harris, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got hit in the nuts." And like he like forgets to sell it, and there's no DQ there. So it was a little. That's the only thing I guess I would have for criticism of the match is what was the point of the ref in this match besides literally counting the 3 at the end after the super kick, but. The ref like was seriously probably the worst ref I think I've ever seen. I know people shit on AEW refs nowadays, or even some of the WF. This ref was pretty bad. Like, I mean, that low blow, like he like watched it, was like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to see that," and like kind of turned away. It was just awkward.
I didn't think it was that bad, but apparently Mongo had other thoughts. I didn't think it was. I mean, obviously I noticed it, but it wasn't. It didn't stick out as much as I thought. But I do agree. There was a spot later on in the card where Jerry Lynn was the referee and X-Pac low blowed him, and he saw just enough of it. You know, it was one of those ones where like he didn't like it. That's how it should have been done, I guess. But yeah, it didn't really take away from the match much because the match itself was still pretty good, thankfully. But if it had been a bad match with bad refereeing, it would have been just a clunker, a dud. So
I don't know. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, thankfully with Alex Shelley and AMW, you know, you have 3 really talented guys, and you know, Matt Batley, for all the crap I give him, you know, did really well here too. It's just, I guess it kind of took me out because, you know, we went from really good refereeing last week with Great American Bash. So that's why it stood out more, is because, you know, last week we had a Great American Bash and we've, you know, had some really good matches. And then you kind of see this and it's like, oh, it's like the first match to start this one.
I will say this. There was one thing that kind of distracted me throughout the match and actually throughout the whole show. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but did you guys pick up on that one spot in the ring that's like a different color? That bothered me so much watching this whole show.
They apparently didn't have enough money to get a whole new ring apron, so they're like, we'll just put a fucking piece of flex tape over it. Good.
Oh man, I don't know.
Budget cuts, man. Budget cuts.
They just brought Rhino in. They can't afford that.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiled the end. Sorry.
No.
Crap.
TNA kind of spoiled it. TNA kind of spoiled it with the camera angle that they showed for that.
Well, folks, this has been Wrestling Past and Present. We'll see you next week.
Good night. I guess we should talk about the other matches.
Yeah, what the hell? We're here.
So the next match is a 4-way match to qualify for the 2005 TNA Super X Cup tournament, which that was a tournament to determine the number 1 contender for the X Division title. You have Sanjay Dutt. He's going to go over here against Elix Skipper, Mikey Batts, who, you know, one of the best of all times right there, and Shark Boy in just under 8.5 minutes. I thought it was a solid match. I don't like these 4-way matches where you have to tag in, because I don't see the point. You don't want to tag. You don't want to tag the other guys. There's blind tags. I never liked that type of match. And, you know, I wish they got a little bit more time, because these guys can go. These are your workers. This is your worker division. Have them go 15 minutes to show what they can do. And I think they got a little disservice by only going 8.5 minutes here.
The player from the Himalayas. Sanjay Dutt goes over in the match. Yeah, I think Tim mentioned, it's probably a little shorter than we'd probably like, but it also, you know, it got the job done for the time it was given. It wasn't a bad match. But yeah, no, Tim, it's a solid point that, you know, when you're in a fatal 4-way like this where you have to tag in and out, like, why would anybody ever want to tag somebody willingly? Because now you're out of the match, and that person you tagged in can score a pinfall and win the match. It's not an elimination match. Like, if it was an elimination match, then okay, like, it makes sense. Like, you can go take a breather. Like, if that guy gets pinned, it doesn't matter. So yeah, it's one of those, you know, kind of housekeeping clerical issues that like makes the wrestling fan go, that doesn't make any sense. But you know, I think it's kind of nitpicking the match itself because the match was a decent match, and again, to Tim's point, it probably should have went a little bit longer.
I enjoyed this match a lot. I know it was kind of a spot fest at point, but I think it was fun. And I think my only nitpick was Sanjay Dutt going over just because I guess it didn't make sense based on the push that Shark Boy was getting at this point. I don't know. And I know Sanjay Dutt's talented. It just felt like the wrong person over, but it was overall was fun. Like the deep sea drop was fun. Elix Skipper, man, he can sell. Like he's fun watching him get things due to me. Like does like the Shawn Michaels overselling. I thought that was entertaining. And fun fact, Mikey Batts actually is Billy Kidman's cousin. And you got to put respect on his name, Tim. He was a 3-year legend in this business. He debuted in 2003 and left in 2006 to pursue a failed MMA career. So he went the route of CM Punk, except that CM Punk actually fought in the octagon and kind of tried, whereas he tried and never made it to the octagon. So that legend, Mikey Batts, to you. Thank you.
Are you comparing the careers of Mikey Batts to CM Punk?
MMA careers?
No, wrestling career.
No, MMA careers, not wrestling careers. I don't think you can really hold a candle to CM Punk's wrestling career.
Yeah, I was gonna say
MMA career, maybe, because if he actually made it to the octagon, he probably would have about the same. He had about 3 matches, so almost close to Punk's MMA career. Now WWE Ring of Honor career, hell no, because that's blasphemy.
Yeah.
Didn't one of Punk's losses get overturned too?
I just heard that recently.
Ironically enough, that's one of the.
He still had no offense in that fight, so I don't know if it's really it's more of a moral victory, which I've never heard someone in UFC saying, "You know what? I'm the champion. I got the moral victory." Good for you.
On a side note, you had Conor McGregor trying to kick the guy in the weigh-in Thursday during the Poirier McGregor weigh-in. They had the typical Dana White doing the push apart, and you see
that was last Thursday.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like it's comical that like it's sad how UFC has kind of gone downhill a little bit. I used to watch it a lot, and now I'm just like, meh. Like I think they went a little bit too WWE antic wise. Like obviously the fights are still real, don't get me wrong, but I think they went too character based on some of their guys, like the Diaz brothers being crazy and all this stuff. I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're kind of down the rabbit hole here, but it's just too bad because I personally don't follow it anymore just because I like that it was different and they kind of made it similar in ways to WWE and stuff like that. So it's like, whatever. Like it just.
I mean, between the three of us, I'm surprised Conor McGregor has not shown up at a WWE ring yet because I honestly feel like that Vince is salivating because he would be the perfect wrestler. Like they got Cain Velasquez in for like a cup of coffee against Lesnar for that weird little run with Rey Mysterio there. But I really think their goal is Velasquez. But I mean, Conor McGregor just seems like a straight up dick. Like, remember he smashed that cell phone for a while. So I feel like he'd just be the perfect, like, who the fuck are you? Like, I feel like he'd be perfect. Like you said, he's doing his dickish shit, and I don't know. I think he'd be perfect. And I'm surprised even TNA didn't bring in more because they brought in Tito Ortiz at one point. So there was a lot of connections. And I said something wrong because you're both laughing at me.
Was that your Sheamus impression? I don't even know like what you were.
I don't know what impression it was. It's supposed to be a Conor McGregor. I can't do an Irish person. Hey, read the the preview episode. No brand is off limits. No impression's that good. There's a reason why it's one of our taglines. All right.
Yeah. You're not wrong,
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
I know.
Mongo had to wait 2 hours for dinner today. He's pissed.
You know what? On that note, liquid lunchtime, right?
Right. Well, if you are watching the show and do decide to get a bite to eat, now might be a good time to do it because it's a tag team match between Apollo and Sonny Siaki against David Young and Simon Diamond. Thankfully, this match only goes 5.5 minutes. I don't know. I wasn't invested. Like, to me, this match probably just didn't even need to be there. Like,
it's almost like it should have been a pre-show match, and they just like forgot.
Not even. I don't think. Like, I don't know. This one did nothing for me. Like I said, thankfully it didn't go too long. But yeah, there's nothing really to talk about here for me.
It gave us 5 more minutes to stare at that rectangle patch in the middle of the
Yes.
I mean, we went down that rabbit hole a minute ago. I think that's more entertaining what this match was. The whopping 4.5 minutes, like you just are 5.5, whatever it was. Probably too many, like 5 minutes too long. Like I think I'd rather see Shocker versus No Name Clark at this point than watch this match because, Diamonds in the Rough member. Okay, cool. Like it was still, there was nothing about this match that got you exciting, and it's nothing against Sonny Siaki, or it's just the chemistry wasn't there for any of them. It just felt like they were just like, yeah, go out there, you got a few minutes, just go have fun, and it wasn't fun.
You better put some respect on Simon Diamond's name.
His name is Simon Diamond, and he has Diamond in the Rough. Like, what? No. No. The only Diamond I recognize is Diamond Dallas Page, damn it.
What about the Diamond Stud?
Yeah, what about him?
All right, fair enough. But still, both of them would not even come close to
The
the
Diamond
level
Doll.
of disdain for Simon Diamond. Like, what has Simon Diamond done besides lose?
What about Dean Douglas?
Nah.
That had nothing to do with anything. I was Shane Douglas was the backstage reporter, so like I thought it was funny that they made him a fucking principal.
I think I'd rather watch Lance Storm reading Al Snow's autobiography than that.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Talking about rabbit holes. Yikes. I could be serious for a minute.
Next up is a singles match. You have Samoa Joe. They're really playing up that he's undefeated. Like we covered his debut in the last episode. He's going to get a win over Chris Sabin in about 14 minutes by technical submission, making him pass out to the Coquina Clutch. Again, I thought this was a solid match. Did well to keep building up Samoa Joe. As the future. Right now it's the X division, but Chris Sabin can go. I really enjoyed this one. It was definitely a nice pick me up after that last match.
Yeah, it was a very good showing for William Regal's enforcer, the muscle of NXT right now, Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another guy that's still relevant. It's funny to think of certain guys like AJ and Samoa Joe that are at least still relevant just from 05. Then you think about, like we mentioned last week, that Sting is still wrestling at 60 whatever. So it's cool, the different parallels you see in the connections you make through these shows. And Samoa Joe, this is back when Samoa Joe was a badass, and I'm not saying he wasn't in WWE, but they watered him down. I mean, that if they had let him be his gimmick, he'd still be wrestling now, and he'd be doing, granted, he might have still had his head injury, so we don't know that, but I don't understand when WWE is not going to learn that it makes no sense to water these people down. If you're going to bring somebody in and you can't do it the way you want to, don't bring them in. Like, just don't waste their time, because you've now made Samoa Joe like a corporate stooge essentially that beats people up but can't wrestle. Like it doesn't. I get it, but you've watered down his gimmick so bad that it just doesn't matter. And speaking of Vince McMahon and whatever and all this stuff, has anybody checked to make sure he's still alive after Tommy End debuted on Dynamite this past Wednesday? I mean, it had to have been an oh shit moment when he found out. I'm sure he doesn't. It's well noted he doesn't watch other wrestling, so like somebody probably had to like fill him in, and he probably about damn near stroked out, because rumor has it he then panically had Buddy Murphy called to make sure his was changed. So they were like, oh shit, we better clean this mess up.
Well, and not to bring politics or anything in this, that's not our purpose, but from some of the stuff I've been reading, that there's supposedly a new executive order potentially being signed that could ban 90-day or any type of non-compete clauses for any type of labor contract. So if that gets signed, effectively, I don't know how it'd work retroactively, and I don't want to pretend to be a lawyer or anything, but I know in the future it would negate non-compete. So if Joe Schmo's working at TD Ameritrade and has to sign non-compete, and he now doesn't have to have it, he can go work for Merrill Lynch. It would affect WB too, because it says in the language that independent contractors are not exempt from this order. So if that goes through, that could also shake up the landscape of wrestling too. So how ironic would that be if this whole time, like Vince's only power of holding someone down for that 90 days. And yes, I know they're paying them. And yes, I know Triple H reaches out and helps out. I'm not shitting on WWE on this podcast for once. But that 90-day non-compete is still kind of unfair. If you just let them work. Okay, so you don't have to pay them. They can work. Whatever. It's a win-win for both. You fired them anyway. But now they might not even be a reality anymore. And that could really change the business. We could be back to WCW boys where, we have the same, Scott Hall showing up on WCW moments, or we have Rick Rude showing up on, a taped broadcast and a live broadcast. We could have some of those situations again if those non-competes become non-existent. You
have the Luger Mall of America incident, stuff like that. It would be interesting to see, someone quote unquote finish up with WWE and then the following week be on, other programming, whether it be Impact or AEW or whatever.
Yeah, because we're going to start seeing it soon with, Impact, pay-per-view coming up, which ironically enough, this match with Samoa Joe, Chris Sabin, it's great because Chris Sabin and, Alex Shelley are still going. They defeated the North last year, which Ethan Page is now in AEW, so I know the North's been broken up, but it's cool to see, like you said earlier, that they're still wrestling, and Samoa Joe was a badass, and if these non-competes are a thing, maybe that's why they worried about Samoa Joe and brought it back. Maybe they were worried about him showing back up in Impact and helping them out because he is a great mind and he's a great wrestler. In this match, if you want to see what a dominant Samoa Joe looked like, go watch the last pay-per-view and this one we covered and just watch both these matches. Because if you want to talk about someone getting on a hot streak, that Goldberg push, that monster push, this is what it was. And give up to friggin' Chris Sabin because he looked like he was getting his head ripped off with some of those moves. And the cocaine clutch at the end looks like he was trying to decapitate him. It was just looks vicious. And it was probably my match of the night besides, I'll tell it later, but besides another one. This was probably one of my matches of the night because this match was just brutal and I enjoyed every moment of it.
No, I agree. Next up is a 6-man tag match. You have Team Canada represented by A1, Bobby Roode, and Eric Young. They're going to get the win over the Naturals, which is Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens. They're partnering with Lance Hoyt, and they're accompanied by Jimmy Hart. Plenty of time here, just under 15 minutes. I don't have to rehash my thoughts on the whole Team Canada storyline. You can go back and listen to those on other episodes. But, I thought it was a solid match. They did their typical heel stuff. They got Jimmy Hart, thrown out of ringside by giving him the hockey stick with the Canadian flag. I thought it was a solid match, and they did what they needed to do to win, and they kind of played up their heel persona. Obviously, they're trying to get revenge on Lance Hoyt for Scott D'Amore. But yeah, I thought it was solid, and I enjoyed this one.
I was waiting for the A1 steak sauce reference.
I was gonna do it. It was in my head, but I didn't say it, unfortunately.
But yeah, this just furthered the storyline of the Naturals and Team Canada, and then Lance Hoyt got involved, from the pay-per-view before. So it's good storytelling in a way. But again, it wasn't anything too special. It wasn't bad either. Again, it was just one of those matches that I don't know how you could have made it better, but it wasn't terrible, and it filled the space adequately. I think that's the best way to put it. I don't want to say that it was bad because it wasn't, but it served a purpose. It kept the storyline going, and it was the Jimmy Hart spot was kind of cool. They got him kicked out, and then actually the match, the megaphone got introduced into the match later that Jimmy Hart left behind. So definitely neat there, and it served a purpose. It furthered a storyline, and the wrestling wasn't bad.
No, I agree. There's not much, more we can elaborate too much. It's a storyline that I feel at this point was kind of running its course, like Tim said, and it was just to me, it was just another 6-man tag. I feel like we kind of already saw this match, so the match that we just saw on this one wasn't bad, but I feel like it was almost like deja vu. Like I just saw this same match with Gaga, but it wasn't terrible. I feel like at this point, both teams probably should have moved on to maybe different views. They could have had Team Canada, maybe have them run through the tag team division, maybe have them do, Bobby Roode and Eric Young run through the tag division, win the tag belts at this point to, solidify this faction. But at this point, it's like they're almost kind of doing repeat booking. It was getting tiring because I couldn't imagine what it was like, on the weekly, episode like TV, what it was like if they were doing the same kind of storylines. But I mean, how many times are we going to see Team Canada versus the Naturals with interference and, no pun intended, a shtick, like of a hockey stick.
Hockey stick.
A hockey stick.
Well, speaking of storylines that kind of run its course, we have a street fight next between Monty Brown and Kip James, and we should clarify Kip James is Billy Gunn or the Outlaw. He did a promo before the match saying that, Bullet Bob Armstrong, which is BD James or Road Dogg's father, considers, him like his son, so he's going to change his name to Kip James. So you have Monty Brown and Kip James against the Three Live Crew represented by Conan and Ron Killings. I mean, it's your typical street fight. I mean, it's only 5 minutes, but all it is furthering the storyline. Is which side is BG James on? It's with Kip James or with the Three Live Crew. It's the same thing that we've been going on for months. To me, it needs to end at some point. It's going on. Just make your decision already. It's like a bad reality show kind of storyline. Not much as far as the actual wrestling match goes, not much to dissect. Other than that, it just furthers the storyline between BG James and what side he is on.
Yeah, and it's cool to look at this match too from the retrospective of 3 of these guys are still relevant today. Conan was on AEW 2 weeks ago, and then even before he was at the Stadium Stampede match. So and then you have Billy Gunn who still wrestles, and then you have the only one that's not there is Monty Brown. So it's cool because R-Truth, I think he has reversed age. We talked about last episode JJ Dillon being like 100 years old for 40 years or whatever. Well, I think R-Truth's been like 30 for 20 years now. So the guy doesn't age. He's one of those ageless wonders. So like Tim said, the match wasn't really much of a match. It was more of storyline continuing. So unfortunately, the match definitely could have been better if it had just been, at the end of the match, if they actually had something happen where he picked the side, it would have made more sense. It was like Tim said, it was repetitive month after month of what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. And it was a vicious circle.
I think this is something that, again, I think I said last episode, this should just been on their weekly TV. This should have been left off the pay-per-view because it felt like we were watching a Monday Night Raw segment where it's just like, it was a match on paper, but it wasn't a match. Like Tim said, you said, it was just there to push the storyline. At one point he comes out and he gets the chair and he throws the chair down, and it's just, we get it, it's storytelling, but it's like, this doesn't belong on a pay-per-view. This is where the Samoa Joe match should have been, because then these last 4 matches would have just stolen the show. So again, that's our common complaint with TNA. I don't know if they're just they're in back with the sticky notes and someone's like, oh, that color's blue, that should be on top, and they don't realize which order they're putting the match. But that's my only really nitpick so far. This is the order of their matches and kind of what matches they chose to put on the card were a little strange. But I will say Monty Brown, for the crap I gave him last month, he actually delivered a really good pounce, and he got sold well by Ron Killings, where he just about got turned in half. And then for those keeping it at home, and Tim, he hit it. R-Truth, he hit the scissors kick, or Roland, when you guys mentioned it last month, that he either hits the scissors kick or he doesn't. He hit it. So those keeping score at home.
Oh, Roland's on mute.
Once an episode. Well,
no, you were good last week.
So it's 50-50 now. So he's done it. He's missed. So we should tally that and try to at the end of the year be like, okay, so he went for 7 of them and he hit 4 of them. 50%.
So instead of a QBR rating, it's going to be a when you hit your kick rating, or
it's going to be a R-Truth scissor kick rating.
SKR.
Yeah. Write that down, Tim. I'm just kidding.
Quick, trademark that.
Right.
K-Quick.
Can we mention that Tim?
Write it down, K-Quick.
We also mentioned Tim's segues tonight, or both weeks have been really on point. So I don't know if what Tim's writing down over there, but his segues are being beautiful tonight. So appreciate that.
Yeah, it's my style, man. And speaking of style, we have AJ Styles and Sean Waltman here with Jerry Lynn as the special guest referee. I thought this was a great match with 14 and a half minutes. Jerry Lynn did call the match right down the middle until the very end. Sean Waltman introduces a chair. Jerry Lynn kind of admonishes him for it. And then, AJ Styles goes kind of for a roll up, and Sean Waltman's on the ropes, holding onto the ropes, and Jerry Lynn just kicks his hand and then he gets into the style clash, and AJ Styles wins. I thought it was kind of cool though that they let Sean kick out of the Styles clash at one point during the match. And it shows that X-Pac, Sean Waltman could still go at this point. I mean, he put on a really solid match with AJ. And you really, to appreciate AJ Styles fully, I think you have to go back and watch his TNA stuff, because that's kind of really where he started to own his craft. This was a really good match.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think Sean Waltman is also very underrated. I know that they bring up that he was like the measuring stick. If someone could go back in WWF, they'd put him with 1, 2, 3 Kid or whatever, and then they kind of dictate where the guy would go if they were up in the air on him. I feel like for whatever reason, whether it was his demons or his attitude at some point or whatever, that kind of got himself in trouble with different companies and different bosses, whatever it was, drug issue, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. Whatever it was that kept him back. It's unfortunate that happened, because he could have been an AJ Styles type of wrestler. He could have been a guy that, had a 20+ year career that was, known like AJ is now. He had so many starts and stops though, that it took away from it. That being said, I don't understand. I don't want to say I don't understand. I'm going to say that I don't. With Jerry Lynn in the match, like, I get why they had him as the referee. I get that, like, well, I've known him for forever, but like, I don't understand the point really. Like, that's the only thing about this match. I get why he was there, but like, there was no reason for him to be there. Like, he didn't get involved other than to break them up. And that was it. Like, but why does he need to ref the match? There was no, the storyline, they made the best they could with it. Like, I've known Waltman for 10 years and I've wrestled AJ and all that, but like, you could have just had a regular referee in there. It didn't make the match any better. And again, that's just nitpicking, but AJ got busted open the hard way. Looked like he might have broken his nose, or there was something going on there. And, it was a great match. These two, I think, again, for whatever reason, Waltman unfortunately just didn't have the career he could have had, and matches like this that make you appreciate what he could do. And he was definitely ahead of his time for some of the stuff he could do in the ring.
No, I agree. I've never really understood the Nickelback like level hate that X-Pac gets. There's a term in the wrestling business called X-Pac heat. And for those who may be unaware, X-Pac heat is essentially, they don't like you, not because you're a bad gimmick. They just don't like you as like a person. Like, they don't like you as a performer. So it's just, no matter what you do, you get booed. And I guess I never understood the hate, because this match proves he could go. And, to Roland's point, maybe he rubbed people the wrong way. Maybe his attitude is piss poor. I don't know. I mean, I've listened to his podcast and he seems like a pretty stand-up dude, and talked to him at a few different Comic-Cons up here in Rhode Island, and he's always really good with the fans. And so I don't know, like you said, maybe his past demons, maybe his character's different now, and I don't want to speculate because I don't know. But from a match standpoint, besides the Jerry Lynn, like you said, it was a good match. AJ Styles and him had put on a hell of a match, and like Tim said, this is vintage AJ Styles. I know we say it, every time we do TNA, but we've had Samoa Joe, Chris Sabin, Bobby Roode, AJ Styles. We're gonna have Christopher Daniels coming up. Not to spoil anything. We're having like the best of best TNA. Like, this is when TNA was white hot, but people just weren't watching it. And this is something. Go back, watch this with us, interact with us, talk to us about it, because this is wrestling. This is why we do this podcast. This kind of entertainment where we're seeing a classic match, something that's gonna put him in the Hall of Fame. We're going to have video clips you're going to see forever. This is where they come from. This is the history.
And I think some of this was the reason that he had rubbed and I'm doing the click symbol. I think that, for whatever reason, even after that had kind of worn out, he still had that reputation of being a shit starter, which he really wasn't. And it's just, he had a bad reputation for some reason for being part of the clique, as the clique did. There were certain some of it was warranted, but I think he just fell in as one of the people that was unfortunately negatively impacted by being part of that group.
And I'll probably get some heat from the internet wrestling community for this, but I
X-Pac
like
heat.
X-Pac.
X-Pac heat.
I like X-Pac. Like, I'm not afraid of it. Like, people can make fun of me all they want, but I liked him, because I'm a huge DX mark. I'm a huge NWO mark. Obviously, the click being a thing, but seeing that, obviously 1, 2, 3 Kid, Razor Ramon, like that classic Raw moment. I grew up with that, so I liked him as 1, 2, 3 Kid. I thought it was a stupid gimmick, but it was fun. So I like him. So if you don't, that's cool, but don't come at me because you ain't changing my mind. I think he's a good worker, and like you said, Roland, he just maybe was underutilized his career.
And if you're not down with that, he's got 2 words for you.
Don't sue. Oh, wait.
Next up is a singles match for the X Division Championship. You have Christopher Daniels, who's the champion. He's going to retain over Team Canada's Petey Williams in about 16 and a half minutes. I thought the wrestling was really good. I thought they put on a good match. My only issue with this one was that you lost the heel-face dynamic because they're both kind of heelish. Team Canada's on the heel stable, and Christopher Daniels was doing heelish things throughout the match. So you kind of lost that dynamic for me. It was kind of like, well, and who do I root for kind of thing. Besides that, though, I thought they put on a really good wrestling match. Both of these guys can go, and obviously Christopher Daniels is still relevant today, even though he might be kind of on the downside of his career. But that besides the heel face thing, I thought this was a really solid, match in set up to the main event as well.
Yeah, I agree. Anything that Daniels is going to be in is going to be good. And Petey Williams, again, might be one of the more underrated talents for what he could do. You got to think early 2000s, you have him whipping out that Canadian Destroyer like it's nothing. And now you see it in AEW. Penta does it from time to time. It's like a normal move now. Back then, people like you saw that move and you were like, "Oh shit! Like he's gonna kill somebody." So
Dustin Rhodes is doing it now. And
yeah, like it seems like it happens at least once a week now on AEW.
Bad Bunny.
Yeah, it doesn't happen on WWE programming much. Bad Bunny apparently was the last person that. That's a trivia question for you. Who was the last person that whipped out a Canadian Destroyer on WWE TV? It was Bad Bunny at WrestleMania. Anyway, so it just goes to show you the type of athlete he was, and like I said, he might be one of the more low key underrated athletes in the business. He's not a very big, not a very tall, but he's like Cesaro, pound for pound, a very strong, athletic guy, and it's too bad he didn't make it bigger than he did. He's definitely I wouldn't say he's a huge name in TNA, but he's like that middle of the road. He's like the Dolph Ziggler in WWE, I think, that level kind of thing. So, and Daniels, I low key have a man crush on Daniels anyways. I've loved Daniels from, back at this time and even slightly before this. And it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if they had him be the higher power, because they had talked about that with the Ministry of Darkness storyline WWE, how that would have, like, if they actually went with that, how that would have changed. He probably wouldn't have been in TNA at this point. So, everything happens for a reason, they say, and we were blessed to have, the Fallen Angel be the X Division champion.
Yeah, that's perfectly said, because not only do you have 2 TNA originals, but you also have 2 wrestlers for a long time are kind of, not really given the spotlight they deserved, I guess I'll say. Christopher Daniels went to WCW and then they folded. So, he didn't really get a chance to shine. Petey Williams basically got tryouts at WWE, and he, like you said, his size was used to his disadvantage, because unless you're like 6'9" and 400 pounds of pure muscle, Vince is not gonna have to take a blue chew to like you. Like, it just doesn't make any sense how you can see talent. And I know some people don't like the flippy dippy. I know some people don't like, but just go watch how they do it. Like, they're athletic as hell and they still tell the story. So it's a new age type of wrestling. Like we talk about all the time, that best moonsault ever, he floats. He fucking floats. Like, it's just incredible. Then, like you said, I'm a little disappointed that the Canadian Destroyer is so overused now that it's as common as a DDT, because it's just hard, because I know you want to show all your offense, but something's got to be special. I think that should have been one of those moves that should have been pulled out on rare occasions. Like, WB does it good because when they use a destroyer, it's special. It's like, holy crap. AEW love them to death, but it's like, oh look, that's the third one I've seen tonight. So like it devalues it a little bit. It's not a finisher. Here it gets hit, you're like, oh, it's done, it's over. Now it gets hit, you're like, okay, what's next?
Well, and that's what they've done really well with the one-winged angel for Kenny Omega, is that when he hits it, or the Judas effect, when those get hit, the match is over. With AEW with the destroyer now, that happens 3 times in a night and it never ends a match.
And that's what's hard for me. We talked about last week when we talked about Bash about some of the bad finishers like the Iron Claw or the Brain Chop or the Samoan Spike. It just
Nigerian Nail, get it right.
Sorry, I forgot that they ripped off a Nigerian Nail. My apologies.
They ripped off that thing.
It's just there's certain moves that I just you can't get taken out of to believe it's going to finish. The Hell's Gate, if you Undertaker's finisher, if you watch that, it does absolutely nothing. It's not like it's choking him. It's just kind of like he's giving him like a hug. Like, how you doing, bro? Like it doesn't. And sorry, Tim, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say while we're on that topic, as much as I love the guy, but the I can't think of the name. Cesaro's finisher there, the neutralizer. Yeah, I always thought that was the weakest looking finisher. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't look like it hurts that bad.
And that's that part is how they sell it. You got something like Deep Six from Corbin there. It looks beautiful. It looks like holy crap, or his End of Days or whatever he's calling his finisher now. Like when he hits those moves, it looks like it's going to put you down. I don't really care for Goldberg. Back in the day, he hit you with that spear, it turned you inside out. Like
that's because he legitimately hit you like a fucking bull in a
yeah, that's true. but still, they made those moves look real. Now do you remember when like a big boot to the face would be it? And now it's like a big boot to the face is in a chain of wrestling moves. So that's where I think my purist will come in is don't take a move that Petey Williams, because he basically invented the move. He's pretty much credited with inventing this, and make it just an everyday move. Like it's bad enough to see the Spanish Fly is one WWE does too much now, with like that reverse, like when they both flip together. Like,
yeah,
it's cool when they hit it once in a while, but if you hit it cheapens the move, in my opinion. So I'll get off my little soapbox here.
No, but it makes sense because even going back to the AJ Waltman match, you can have somebody kick out of a finisher when it means something. But to then take someone's devastating finisher, turn it into a move you see 3 times a night, and it doesn't win any matches, it then decredits the move. And it just makes it like, oh, that's such a great looking move, but like it doesn't do anything. So.
One of the best people mind-wise, and my last point, I promise, and I challenge our listeners, go out and watch, there's an Al Snow documentary on YouTube where he talks about ring psychology. Watch that video. It's like 15 minutes. He talks about how he had a stupid finisher. He didn't like the snow pile, but he built up to it and hit it like a finish, so you believed it was a finish. And he goes, I can make a bitch slap a finish if I work it right. And it's true, you can make things finish, but like Roland said, if you've hit 6 arm bars in the match and that's your finish and it's not working, it's no longer effective. So I definitely challenge, because he's someone that he was in TNA and I think helped fix some of these issues. And, he's someone that I think gets undercredited for his wrestling mind. So I think go check it out. I believe it's called Al Snow Teaches Ring Psychology. And it's just him talking about selling and how you build up a finish. And I think it's really interesting if you want to peek behind the curtain.
And Al Snow owns OVW now,
which is, yeah.
Ironically enough. So for the people that don't know that, so clearly the guy knows what he's talking about and he knows what he's doing. He's trying to take a promotion that used to be the only minor league affiliate for WWE for the longest time and try to make it something again. So, and
we as fans can't claim the more wrestling we have, more farm systems we have. I mean, that's what wrestling needs, is farm systems. That's why I like that AEW has Impact and goes to New Japan and has the crossovers, because you can use each other like a farm system, like what WWE did with ECW. Have these small portions feed people and have the indies thrive, because then help that talent get noticed, because it's going to only help grow the business. So instead of maybe getting 300 views on YouTube, this indie promotion get a couple thousand, get more of these people exposed. It's better for everyone.
So we have made it to our main event, which is a dog collar match for the NWA World Heavyweight title. You have Raven, the champion. He won the title in the King of the Mountain match on our last TNA show. He's going to retain over Abyss with James Mitchell in about 19 minutes here. I really enjoyed this one. It was brutal. It was a hardcore match. I mean, you had a staple gun spot. You had table spots in there. You had your interference by James Mitchell, and then some random dude came in on the behalf of Raven. I don't remember his name. But you had interference, but it was a brutal match, hardcore match. It's not a pure wrestling match by any means, but it was really entertaining. They keep building up Abyss. I don't know if this would have been the time to put him over or not. I know Raven just got the title, but you could have maybe used Raven as a transitional champion here and as the way to make your Abyss your star. But other than that, that's kind of nitpicking a little bit. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a good main event.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely lived up to what it should have been. It wasn't like the match with him and Hardy with the weird referee setting up the table.
Yeah.
It was not anything like that. At one point, Abyss escapes the dog collar. So it was just, you had thumbtacks. You had it was a brutal match, and it made Raven beating Abyss believable. Because in real life, if you see Raven, you see Scotty Flamingo, Raven, and you see Abyss, and you're like, wait, this dude, it's like Shawn Michaels and Diesel from back in the day. It was believable because the way Shawn worked. But I mean, you see those two guys together, it's like, well, why would this guy even stand a chance? But because of the style of match, it was believable that Raven could pull off what would be deemed kind of an upset, even though he was the champion. And the psychology was great. These two guys are definitely twisted MFers, though. Some of the stuff they do, and I mean, Abyss would go on to do even more crazy stuff, and Raven had done crazy stuff, and he does some more stuff too in his career. So definitely a good way to end what was a great run of matches in the show. Like Mongo said, if they had formatted it a little bit differently, it would have been 4 straight just absolute bangers at the end of a card, which would have been, I mean, I don't know how you can send the fans home any happier. Great way to end it. And it was kind of surprising, in my opinion, that Raven did hold on and win here.
No, you're right. I know you both kind of hit on it, but I don't think Raven should have gone over. But again, I know you have to protect the belt too, because you just won it. But it was just an even flow DT on attacks after everything they did was just, I feel like, a weird way to end it. He's supposed to be the monster, and it's like you've literally strangled him with the chain, you've thrown him off the ramp, staple guns, all this crazy stuff, and finally puts him down as the even flow and DT. And I get you're building that finisher, but it should have been something more like maybe James Mitchell and Cassidy Riley, who, Tim, that's the person you're thinking of.
Okay.
If maybe had teamed up and kind of done something, but it just, I don't know. The ending's only criticized, but the match itself was solid. And like you said, way to send the fans home happy, because it's a great classic hardcore match, a very ECW-esque match. And again, as stupid as the name dog collar matches shows that we've, on this program alone, our program, we've covered some really good dog collar matches. We have this one, you have the Brody Lee Classic. It's crazy to think that a match with such a dumb name can be so fun and just so gruesome. Like you said, Tim, there was cringe spots where that staple gun, you're oh, I get the heebie-jeebies just thinking about some of the things they were doing, the tax. Anytime they do tax, I'm always usually out.
Yeah. And then, after the match, Jeff Jarrett comes out and, he's kind of complaining that, it's his belt and Abyss took his title shot kind of thing. And then Rhino appears in the ring, but they kind of missed the camera cue on that because he's been in the ring before they pan to him. They didn't even show him walking through the entrance ramp. And we should mention this. I never liked this. They had the 2 entrance ramps from one on each side of the ring. But so they missed the camera angle on Rhino, and Rhino gores Raven, right? Am I thinking, is that right? Yeah, he gores Raven, and it's a swerve, bro, and Rhino and Jarrett are aligned. And Roland's on mute again.
He had to make up for last week not being on mute.
I know.
Well, I mean, we're trying to do the best to have the best quality we can audio-wise, so sue me. Yeah, so you have, like Tim said, unfortunately, you kind of miss the Rhino spot, like coming out. It would have been better if they had showed from Jarrett's point of view and saw Rhino show up. Like that would have been like, he kind of just. But yeah, they pan and he's just standing there like waiting to. Then he delivers a gore, and it like Tim said, swerve, bro. That's exactly what it was. They were playing up that Jarrett had a problem with Rhino being there, and that they were going to bring all these former WWE people there, and they were gonna take over, and blah 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 blah, and it was a swerve.
Hey, at least this time the production was a lot better. I mean, we covered some that it looked like the guy directing it was in the parking lot riding a roller coaster, left, right, well, up, down, and the announcer's telling him what to do. Like, yeah, I mean, that's the only goof. So they definitely, improved their production. But like you said, Tim, I agree with you. Like, it's so stupid. Like on the left side of the arena, you have one tunnel, on the right, you have another. So it's like your hard cam almost has to be up like on the roof looking down to get both tunnels. I think the way WWE has it and AEW, I think they have it the best. Like when they do the dual entrances, like they're on the same ramp, not across the rings.
Right.
But did you guys catch TNA with his weird quote that made no sense? And that was he had to cover for kind of. It was something like, "Oh, Abyss is going to try to use that chain as an equalizer to exploit the size advantage he has over him." I'm like, so if he has a size advantage over him, and he's exploiting it, how is it an equalizer? Like it was just a weird choice of words. Like it's an equalizer, so because he has an advantage. Wait, if he has an advantage, why does he need an equalizer? I don't get it.
Poor Mike TNA.
So that's. No, go ahead.
I was saying that in jest because obviously, like we talked about JR's, buff where humans do that. So I talked to that in jest just because it was funny. Because I was like, wait a minute, that's an oxymoron. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off for a stupid quip.
So that's our rundown of No Surrender 2005. Overall, I'll probably give this one a 7.5. There's kind of letdowns with the street fight and the Apollo Siaki Simon Diamond match. If I had to recommend one match to watch, I'm actually going to go with the main event here. I mean, it's not the best wrestling match on the card, but I think it's the most entertaining match for me. So I'm going to recommend the Raven Abyss match. Roland, unmute again.
Wow. Long night, folks. Long night. So you have Joe Sabin, you have the Daniels match, you have the AJ match, you also have the main event. Like it's hard, you need to dedicate like an hour and watch those 4 matches. Like I think that I don't know if I can pick one. I really don't. I guess if I had to pick one, like if you gun to my head, I think I might actually pick the Daniels match. Believe it or not.
So it's funny because I went where you went and you went where people probably thought I was going to go. I went with the AJ Styles Sean Waltman match just because I liked it as a prove it match for X-Pac to show the world he can go. And I'm an AJ Styles mark like you. So pretty much everything he's in is a classic when you watch it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, the opening match was a banger too. America's Most Wanted, like I said, I nitpicked the referee, but it was still a solid match. So I mean, if you take out the Sonny Siaki and the Team Canada and the Monty Brown Gaga, it's a solid card. So I'd give it a 7. It's a good rewatch. Like rewatch 2005 because it's a fun string of events, and you're gonna see things that you realize that you missed. Like I see back, I'm like, damn, I can't believe I missed this, or I can't believe I never saw this highlight or anything like that.
Well, and even the match itself, the Monty Brown match itself, was a good match. I mean, it wasn't a terrible match. It's just the waiting for BG to pick a side, and it just it watered it down too much, I think. But yeah, the match itself was solid.
What was your rating, Roland?
I'd say it was somewhere in the 7 range. If I had to, I mean, it's definitely not the best show we've watched, but it's also way above the worst show we've watched. So yeah, I'd say 7-ish, somewhere in there.
And I think it's good that, we chose the formatting we have so far. I mean, we've largely tried to stay away from current WWE product, and I think going back to the Great American Bash, and I know Tim's going to use this segue here in a second, going to TNA once a month, having the AEW, like these different variety of shows, I think are also opening up our audience, hopefully, to the different wrestling that's out there. Because WWE is not the only and was not the only promotion around. So it's a fun way to explore why we're wrestling with wrestling's past and present.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of the Great American Bash, we're going to cover another one for you guys next week. This time it is 1989. So we're, doing another dive into the 80s. Ric Flair and Terry Funk are on top there. I have seen a couple, Terry Funk matches, probably not as many as I like, but I've always enjoyed them. So I do have high hopes for that one. So looking forward to breaking that one down for you guys next week.
And while we're on this subject, unfortunate news about Terry Funk suffering from dementia. So it's you have somebody that I think mainstream wise is a little underappreciated, but in the business is not anywhere near underappreciated. So it's unfortunate to see and to hear about. So and unfortunately, it's not something you can really get better from. So it's only going to get worse. So thoughts and prayers with the Funk family. Hopefully things go relatively smooth or as smooth as they can, and he's able to live the rest of his life at least functionable, for most of it. And again, it's an unfortunate diagnosis, but this is going to, watching some of this stuff is going to make me appreciate him even more. I mean, for me, Terry Funk was Chainsaw Charlie. Like that was, or he was, the guy in ECW at that point, already kind of past his prime a little bit. So like, I didn't get to see the early Terry Funk stuff. So early for me anyways. So it's going to be cool to go back and watch this match.
I agree. I cannot wait. There's also the Road Warriors, Midnight Express in the Freebirds in a War Games match. And this is an original War Games match. And what we went through last week with the clusterfuck, or as we like to dub it, the Tower of Clusterfuckery. I'm excited to see War Games because, those have a reputation. So this is where the reputation probably comes from. And to echo your thoughts, yes, on Terry Funk, same. He was Chainsaw Charlie to me, I subscribed to Wrestling Crate and I got a Chainsaw Charlie pin that, I want to find something displayed on because he is someone I remember growing up and watching. And if you watch Beyond the Mat, you can get a good look at his career and get a good look at inside his head because he loved this business. And this is when I say, like, I hate when people call wrestling fake. This is why, because he gave his body literally and figuratively. I lost a grandfather to Alzheimer's and dementia. My grandmother suffered dementia. So I definitely feel for the family. I know what it's like to see a loved one. And as someone who I loved watching him, it's sad to see him go through. Because like Roland said, there's no cure, unfortunately, for it. So it can only regress, unfortunately. And thoughts are out to the family because it's a horrible, horrible disease. And you hate to see anyone go through it, but let alone the beloved childhood hero of most of our audience and us.
Yeah, absolutely. On a side note, my regular job, I do a lot of work with the Alzheimer's Association, so I know just how much devastating that disease is. But if anybody can battle through it, I think it's going to be Terry Funk. So prayers and thoughts to him and his family.
He's going to set it on fire and put it through a table.
That's right.
Send it to Funk you.
You're going to put it inside a dumpster and push it off the stage.
That's right.
Hey, Kip James was on the show.
That's right. So Great American Bash 1989 is coming up for you guys next week. Thanks for tuning us in once again. Remember, hit us up on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can send us an email, www.pappod@gmail.com. We also have our website where you can get our bios and all the latest episodes. www.papp.com. We're on all major platforms, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And continue to tell your friends and family members about us. Help us grow. We certainly appreciate the support from you guys.
Yeah, I echo the same thing. Thank you. This is episode 85. Maybe my wife brought up a good point. Maybe for like the 100th episode, we can have you guys suggest matches we could watch or a show we could watch or do, a portion of something live on, either Facebook or YouTube or we have options now. So, we want your participation. And if that sounds like something that you think would be cool, then let us know.
Absolutely. Can't echo what you guys said enough. And one of the big things I want to put out in the lexicon, you'll see on social media as well. And Our Pro Wrestling Tees promotion that we did last time was super successful, and a shirt was purchased. So it's cool to see that it was used. And he texted me. That's the only reason I know. But I think I want to do another contest, and I think you guys can help us out, and it's going to cost nothing. I think I want to do like a referral friend promotion since SummerSlam. I don't really want to do a prediction for it, and I know it sounds harsh, but just because I feel like it's not going to be as fun. So I think maybe we're going to change it up, and we're going to do like a refer a friend promotion where if you get some friends to listen to us or like our Facebook page, you can get some entries, and we'll do a randomizer and, you know, have a winner, and they'll win a Pro Wrestling Tees gift card, because I'd rather give back to our fans, let you buy some merch, support the wrestlers, so it's a win-win for everyone, versus pay for ad revenue, because you guys are what's helping us grow, continue to grow. So it's my way of saying thank you, our way of saying thank you. You know, we're a team. We're three friends who shoot the shit we're watching wrestling and love talking about it. And without you guys, you know, it would just be us talking to each other anyway. But it's great to have the feedback, so we want to keep hearing from you guys.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I think that's a good way to do it. And like you said, it then lets them pick something. They don't have to say, well, I won this. They can use it for whatever they want. They can put it towards a bigger purchase. They can get a shirt, you know, like it just makes it, you know, that much easier for someone to get something they like.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's better than us giving you a Mikey Batts autograph, you know, something.
I want to try to find a Jarrell Clark one for Mongo.
Right. Well, again, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, we'll be back next week at 5 with the Great American Bash 89. Everyone have a great week. We will see you next Saturday. Until then, I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Fulis.
And I'm Mongo with the hat.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present.
All right, I stand corrected. It was a hat. It wasn't a do-rag. You win.
I hope you're all having a nice day.